Hello. I do wonder. I'm going to my. I'm going to do my East End accident. I do wonder. I do wonder. Yeah, everyone. Um, I share the story. I share lots of stories, but I tell the story of when I lived in Florida briefly. Well, I had lived. My plan was to move to Florida, right? And well, one summer, and I was like, this is just not happening. I just not at all. But anyway, one I had this place in Florida. Um, I well we rented it, and the man first there was someone people would come and stay like Airbnb before Airbnb became a thing. But then I had rented it for 1 year, and or maybe it was a two, 1 or 2. Listen to this, everybody. The man that rented my condo, Palm Air, well, he was in the Israeli army. Now, I didn't know what I know now, right? He was a surgeon in the Israeli army. I have his canceled checks because I saved stuff. I saved my communion money. No, so this guy he was a surgeon in the Israeli army. Mhm. What happened was when this man came to look at the place with the realtor, he was there with this young Filipino boy, like a teenager. Young, some 20. He didn't look more than 20 years old, this guy. Well, I thought that the Filipino young man, was with the realtor, like her partner, another co-agent, Well, the Filipino young man was this married man's boy toy. And this freaking guy robbed the furniture that I had in this condo when he left. Robbed the furniture, Israeli. Robbed the furniture, destroyed the kitchen, basically left the place like a real poop hole because that's kind of what people do often. It's very unfortunate. I bring this story up because this man, like I said, there were 3 people who came to look at the condo, and I thought that the Filipino guy was with the agent. Turned out the Filipino young man was a boy toy for this married Israeli surgeon. All right. Now, men being on the down low and having young men that they engage in relations with is not isolated to Israeli men. People do this in all races. But I bring up the story because it just, you know, the guy was a lowlife. He was a lowlife, and you see what they're doing. They're a bunch of lowlives. And as far as the world's concerned, you want to go ahead and block this? Go ahead and block it, YouTube. You're horizontal with Israel too. The world knows that. All these companies are. But I'm just wondering, how well do you think they are going to be perceived and taken by everybody else in the globe? Not too well, right? Because people cannot stand them. People cannot stand them. And do not conflate Judaism with not Israeli Zionism, because it doesn't work. I told the story about this lady that I met my son's father through her, Jewish woman. This broad had the frickin' nerve, the audacity to tell me Palestinians don't belong in America. Meanwhile, she knows about this much because her education is about this much, you know. Ignorant, racist, WT. Ignorance, racist, WT. You know, I talked about genetic mutations, right? How you can tell a person's race by their their anatomy. You know what I mean? You can tell someone. Black people, Africans, genetic, long arms, right? Asians, long arms, except for certain races of different Asian groups. That's because the art we come from Africa, as does the world, you know. But you see the Israelis, right? You see how white they are. Then you got the black, the ones that are from Somalia and from Africa that they engage with this genocide. But you know what? They're going to see their maker. They're going to see their maker. And people like that, when they breathe, God gives them sand to inhale. You understand? God gives them sand so that when they take a breath, every time they take a breath, they're inhaling sand. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that genetic mutation of short arms, like you see a lot of Israelis with red hair and light hair, and they got the hook noses. It's the Polish descendant and the Eastern European, not Eastern European, the Europeans, you know. People, be kind to people, be honest with people, and if you can't be, don't engage. Don't engage. Because our society is so sick and twisted and people just lie. They just lie. It's like, you know, they believe their own fantasies and they believe their own lies, and then they go ahead and they hijack people. You know what I mean? They hold people hostage. That's what happens. But anyway, everybody have a good night, good day. I'll be back. And remember, always do the right thing like you're being watched, because we are. And bye.